Here we are coming to you live from our top secret broadcasting bunker here at Area 52. This is Pastor Mike, and I am here today in spite of my busted up vehicle. And I just brought it from the shop. I just had it at the place that I do business with in my town. And I like this guy. I trust him. And that's the thing for me. When I look to get my car fixed, I'm not looking for some inside deal. I'm not looking for a discount. I'm not looking for anything like that. I don't normally work on my own vehicles. That is not the grace that God has given me. My dad always did. Other people I've known do it. I don't do it. I've changed spark plugs before. I've changed brakes before. I've done it. I just don't like it. So I had my van. It's a 12-year-old vehicle. Took it to the shop to get it worked on. The rear hatch handle broke because of the ice and cold weather one day. So I was getting that fixed, and I was having just some other things checked out on it, try to keep it running. And I pick it up this morning, and I take off. I've got Alicia in the van. I've got Matthew in the van. I've got Caleb in the van. And we get down the road, and the oil light comes on. Now, I know that's not good. So I pulled it over, checked the oil, it had oil in it, and called the guy that I just left. And I said, my oil light's on. He said, well, it could be a sensor. It could be no oil pressure. And he said, well, try to bring it back later today. So I took off with it. I didn't get 2 miles down the road. I pulled up to a stoplight, and the thing just cut off. Oh, no. And so I got it started just long enough to get it off to the side of the road. Called Gary to come screaming down here in the church van to pick us all up. And a tow truck is taking my van back to get it looked at. I don't know what's wrong with it. Probably the oil pump's gone bad on it. And I hope that the motor's not seized up as a result of it. So give us some prayers, would you? We've got another vehicle. It's about 7 years old. My wife and I decided years ago that we were done buying brand new vehicles. We just don't buy them brand new anymore. We let somebody else drive it off the lot and take an $8,000 bath for driving a new vehicle off the lot, because that's about what you lose when you drive it off the lot. And so we let somebody else do that for 2 years, and then we pick up their trade-in. And so anyway, good to be with you today. Glad to be here. And I had an interesting call a little while ago, and I'll share some of that with you. And it just kind of provoked me into the scriptures, and that's always a good thing when I can get provoked into the Bible. And I appreciate the fellow that called. And I had an interesting question given to me last night via Facebook, and I'm going to be dealing with that today as well. And I've given some thought about the answer that I'm going to answer her with, and I think that we need to use caution. Anyway, I'll tell you what that is in a little bit. Today is your day. If you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, PastorMikeOnline@gmail.com. We already have a few emails in the queue, and I'll get to those shortly. But here's what I want to... There's something going on in Texas. Have you heard what's going on in Texas? They want their gold back. They want it back. They said it's ours. It's sitting in Washington, D.C., or it's supposed to be, and we want it back. Texas has generally been at the front of the pack of a certain variety of uber hawkish, vaguely paranoid monetary policy talk over the last few years. Recall it was the state's Governor Rick Perry who, while running for president, strongly suggested that Ben Bernanke would be committing treason should the Federal Reserve print any more money. Perry and some in the Texas legislature want to bring the roughly $1 billion worth of gold held by the state University Systems Investment Fund onto Texas soil rather than in its current resting place in a vault in New York, if that's really where it's at, if it's really there. And I don't blame them. You know what? I don't blame them. When everybody starts getting nervous, people start wanting their money. A few years ago, when all the housing market crashed and when all this financial trouble was going on and banks were closing, my wife and I went to our bank. And we said, all the money that we have in savings, well, we didn't take all of it out. We had some money in savings, and we said, we want that in our hand in cash. Well, I'll tell you, our bank is doing real good, and you don't have to. I understand that, but we want it in cash. We want it in our hand. Well, it's going to take a few days. Okay, we'll be back in a few days. You call us, and we want it in our hand. And a few days later, we went back to the bank, and they put it in our hand. Okay? It's in a safe deposit box now. We can get to it if we want to. It's our money, and it should be in our hand. And there are a lot of people nervous right now because of what happened in Cyprus. If you look at Judge Report, all the Cyprians, they're not happy with what's going on over there. They've stolen our money, one article says, and so on. No money allowed to leave the country. Russia to ban cash transactions over 10 grand. If that spills out over to the United States, folks, it's not going to go well. When you start messing with people's money, that's when fights break out, is what happens. That's when fights break out. And but anyway, Texas wants it back. The article says, Perry said, if we own it, he said, I will suggest to you that's not someone else's determination whether we can take possession of it back or not. It's their money. It belongs to the state of Texas. Should they have a right to have it in their state? Absolutely. Because what's to say that some government official, like the President of the United States or the Secretary of the Treasury, doesn't put a freeze on everybody's bank account here? They say, well, we're the government. We can do that. And then they put a freeze on everybody's bank account, and then they start taking money out of your bank. Or they hold the states hostage. Something interesting to me, it's been interesting to me for a while, that all these states now are asserting their rights. They're saying to the federal government, we're not going to play along with things that you're doing. And we say, yeah, go get them. Yeah, Texas, woo-hoo, Montana, go after it. The problem is a house divided against itself cannot stand. And we would be looking at some very, 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 very dangerous times going on in this world. Here is an article somebody sent me. DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Project, sets to make computers that can teach themselves. Machine learning is how a computer carries out a new task. The program adds its training, makes predictions, and completes the task. The result, the machine gets smarter. The Pentagon's Blue Sky Research Agency is readying a nearly 4-year project to boost artificial intelligence systems. That being because there really is no intelligence system at all in Washington, D.C. They're going to boost artificial intelligence systems by building machines that can teach themselves, while making it easier for ordinary schlubs like us to build them too. When DARPA talks about artificial intelligence, it's not talking about modeling computers after the human brain. That path fell out of favor among computer scientists years ago as a means of creating artificial intelligence. We'd have to understand our own brains first before building a working artificial version of one. But the agency thinks we can build machines that learn and evolve using algorithms, probabilistic programming to parse through vast amounts of data and select the best of it. After that, the machine learns to repeat the process and do it better. And I've said this, I don't know how many times. I have seen this movie. I've watched this movie where they actually do this in every minute. You can go back to 2001, A Space Odyssey. Good morning, Dave. I'm sorry I can't do that, Dave. Open the pod bay doors, Hal. I'm sorry, Dave. I just can't do that. I've seen all these movies. They all turn out bad, every one of them. There isn't a movie that I am aware of where the computer is able to think, learn for itself, do for itself, iRobot. I watched iRobot. And the computer just decided to take over humankind. Eagle Eye, a defense computer that knows everything on everybody, and it just took over. There was a plot in this movie to blow up the government of the United States. I mean, the whole government. President, vice president, both houses of Congress, Supreme Court, because there was a State of the Union address. And there was going to be one official, which was the Secretary of Defense, who was going to be sequestered in a bomb-proof room so that he would be the only one to live. And the computer was running all of this. I've seen this movie, too. I've seen several of them where the computers get smart, and all of a sudden now, we're in danger. Terminator. It's all about that. Why are we doing this? Why are we so bent on our own destruction and building something that we can no longer control? Maybe. Let's bring Sola Scriptura in here. Let me put my bookmark here because I'm going to come back to something here in 2 Thessalonians here in just a little bit. Revelation chapter 13, and let me say this. I don't think for a second, I really don't think that a fulfillment of Revelation 13 is we're going to build a giant robot that looks like the Antichrist and so on. I don't think that. But if you look in Revelation 13, verse 13, the Bible says, He doeth wonders. This is concerning the false prophet. He doeth wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, at the image, and I want you to think about this. They make an image, but it's them that dwell on the earth. They're the ones who make the image. This is why you've heard me talk about watch out what you imagine. Learn to do exactly what the Bible says, to cast down imaginations and those things that exalt themselves above God. Watch out for the imagination part of your brain. You have the logic part over here, and you have the creative side over here. This is the part that lies, by the way. This is the part that when you're going to tell a lie, it draws a picture of it in your mind so you can tell what it looks like. You can tell what the lie is. And you have to imagine all this stuff going on. When I first started looking into the whole emergent church idea, the idea of contemplative prayer, the idea of we're seeing creative guided imagery moving into the church, whereas 20, 30 years ago it was in the schools, and all the good Christians were going, oh, this is in the schools, this is New Age stuff, we don't want it. Now it's moving into the church, and they're going, have you tried this? This is like so cool. I could sit right next to God. This was so neat. I just thought it up in my